It's August 1st, and I move that we open our public meeting for tonight.
Second, okay.
Is that the motion?
That was a motion.
I second.
She's seconding it, but she's got to, you got to scream even though you're next to me. And it's 7:12 PM. Supervisor?
Yes.
Second? Councilmember Zahir?
Yes.
Rebellard?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Okay, so then let's start as we always do by saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Blackman?
Here.
Councilmember Zahir?
Here.
Rebellard?
Yes.
Ham?
Here.
And let the record reflect this evening that Councilman Winters will be absent.
Okay, thank you. So because of the incident in Wassaic, I called the state police who responded to the incident on Sunday, and the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office, who apparently dealt with some incidents involving the same individual earlier in the week. The state police did not respond in terms of making a statement tonight, but the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office did. So I am going to call the Dutchess County Sheriff, and he's going to make a brief statement, of course, because we don't have Zoom technology in this room yet. It'll just be a phone call, and I'll just put the mic next to the phone, so hopefully that will actually work. We'll see. Okay.
Hit 9. Oh, he got it.
Kirk, this is Leo. Are you able to give a little statement to the people at the town board meeting? Really? Let me just see that I dialed the number I have. 242. That is the number I have. Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Wrong number?
What?
Wrong number?
Wrong number. Let me see if I have it on my phone. But that was quite a, I'm sure, scare for whoever I called. I'm sure it was almost worth it. Oh, Rosanna, will you check your phone? Or the town phone? Do you have that now? Or did I not give it to you yet?
Here.
Okay.
Did you write down the password and stuff, Lynn?
I'm sorry? Okay. Well, that's not it. Okay, well, that's really annoying. Well, mortifyingly, I'm going to have to run upstairs and get it. And,
Do you want me to do my report?
yes, why don't you start your report? That would be lovely. Thank you.
All right, so good evening. We're going to just jump ahead to the town clerk's report. As I shared with the town board, the collection for the month of July in the town clerk's office was $1,003.50, with the local share having been remitted to the supervisor in the amount of $969. We do have, as everybody's come in today, we are collecting school supplies in support and collaboration with the Harlan Valley Compassion Connection. It's their annual school drive, so if anybody that has any pens, art supplies, folders, binders, or dividers, glue sticks, tape, backpacks, pencil cases, or any of our fun, good school supplies, please feel free to drop them off here. Other local drop-off locations include the Amenia Library, Amenia Yoga, Dollar General, and in Wassaic they are offering it at Jack's Auto Service, and as well as our surrounding towns. As we all know, we've had a big bid out for before, as big helper. You want the scissors? Okay, so we were seeking sealed proposals for architecture engineering services for the new highway garage and salt shed facility, and we have received responses from. I wasn't kidding about you. Want this? Yeah, you want it.
Watch out, man.
Yeah, that one. So in our packets, and they were required to submit 8 hard copies with a thumb drive. So our first one is dcak.msa Architecture Engineering. And we'll just put them on the table and then I'll, if that's okay. This is where the scissors. That's a lot. Yes, Christmas in August. He doesn't let sealed bids. Our next one we received
This is for the sidewalk.
from Colliers Engineering and Design.
Maybe. What's the garage?
Labella Architecture Engineering Services.
Oh,
CPL Architecture Engineering and Planning. Managerial Engineering out of Terrytown. Oh, this is really neat. And our sixth and final company is Delta Engineering Architects and Surveyors. So at this time, I am presenting the 6 bids. Again, as a recap, Delta Engineering's CPL Architects, Labella, DCKA, MSA Architecture, Collier Engineering and Design, and Managerial Engineers. All of these were received prior to the deadline. So at this time, I'm asking for the board to accept, as I've presented to you, the list of proposals received.
I make that motion.
Senator Ham.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Blackman?
Yes.
Councilmembers Ahern?
Yes.
Rebellard?
Yes.
And Ham?
Yes.
So what I will do before the end of the evening, I will give you each your packets.
Oh, no.
So you have some light reading. Charlie's here, and Highway will also get theirs. And then I'll also get them everything on the flash drive as well. I believe there's 8, so if you want your copy tonight, don't leave. And then I'll also circulate electronic copies in the morning.
Also to the town engineer for review on a proposal.
That is a good idea.
I'm going to have to build an addition, Dawn.
For review, and you wanted a town engineer for, and
Recommendations,
recommendations,
sorry.
okay?
I think it's a proposal by action, review and recommendation.
Okay, so that will be sent out tomorrow morning, well, other than you guys leaving tonight, so. With that being said, and
Okay, well.
Leo is back.
Luckily, you have another chance to hear from the county sheriff because the Amenia Republicans invited him to speak tomorrow night at 6:30 at the Wassaic Firehouse. So if you want to see him in person, which is better than the phone, attend that. Okay.
So you couldn't find the number? You couldn't find it?
Can't find the number. Okay. So, let's see.
Public comment, right?
Public comment. Do we have public comments in the House?
Hello, everyone. My name is George Bestranson. I live at 3498 Route 343. Since Troutbeck is on the agenda, I did want to just mention some things about that. One is the Delamater House. 3 of the facades have historic easements. You can't alter them. One of the facades is not protected. Originally, they were going to punch a hole through that and make a restaurant. The plan has been changed. There's no plan to change it. It would be nice if an easement would also be put on that. Then the whole building is protected for the rest of time. We don't have to worry about it in the future, any developments for that. So I ask the board to look into that, please. I live at the beginning of the scenic route on 343. I consider that very important to me. I don't want to see new buildings on my scenic route and whatever. I don't know really what's going to happen tonight in terms of Troutbeck's presentation, but whether there's a conservation easement or not, Route 343 should be a scenic route. And finally, we all know Troutbeck is in a very important area for wildlife migration. Whatever the development is there, we have to keep that in mind and not build something too big. Thanks.
Anyone else want to speak?
I just have a question.
You have to go up to the microphone or people in our home viewing audience can't hear you.
Okay. What is the action that's being considered at this meeting?
Need her name
I'm sorry, you have to say your name and,
Oh, I'm sorry. Barbara Miley. I reside at 57 Benton Hill Road.
okay. What is the action? It's just an explanation of where things are because the planning board has heard and we haven't. So we wanted to be informed on the project that is being requested to move ahead now.
And what is the town board's role in the approval process?
This is public comment. This is not questionable.
Well, I mean, this isn't questioning typically. I know that, you may have experience with that, but that's sort of not the point of this meeting. And if you just sit down, you'll find out.
So it's just an informational meeting? Okay, fine.
Okay, anyone else have a question? Or, I'm sorry, want to speak? Ken?
Good evening. This is not anything specific. It's a general observation. I'm Ken Topolsky, 95 Cascade Mountain Road. I lived in this area, moved away about 36 years ago, and moved back 4 years ago. I remember what this area was. I remember what the southern part of the county looked like. This is not changed that much. Instead of cows, we have corn for the most part. My concern is that we are operating the town with the tacit approval of the board in manners that are anti-growth. You are passing to you are encouraging a recreational development when your plan was last reviewed in 2006 and your head of the Recreation Committee didn't even know he had to have a plan and was not aware of it. That is irresponsible. They serve at the pleasure, according to your bylaws, of the board. You have an Industrial and Development Committee that has never met, and they report to you. I don't even know if you could name 2 members of that committee. That is not leadership. That is not transparency. I can go on. And I wrote a letter to all of you.
And we're going to talk about it later.
Okay, just so you know, the title is Amenia and its Main Street Dying? A friend of mine, when I told them I was writing this letter to you, said, I thought it was already dead. It is not going to improve, friends, board members, unless we start doing the responsible thing. Let's plan. Let's have a plan that guides us to the future, not just a fix, saying, oh, well, let's look into food trucks and mini houses and, oh yeah, Airbnb didn't exist the last time. you don't want to spend any money on a town plan. So you could use the town plan you have, which is antiquated, pre-COVID, pre-all these things, and help it guide you to your demise. You need to throw out the plan you have, which is incredibly well done. It is a great plan. I've looked at several of them. But it is not the plan that's going to save our town. And the sooner we make that commitment and say, okay, this is going to be a year or 2-year profit, the sooner we can get on the track to revive Amenia, to make it a town that meets all stakeholders' needs, that goes on intelligent development, fair housing, and I urge you to make that a priority so that we're not saying, oh, let's build a park when we have no plan. And that really is a capital improvement, but yeah, we feel like doing it. And traditionally, you don't make capital improvement expenditures on a whim. So let's become professional. Let's become the best that all of you, your talent, each one of you, your gifts, can lead us to the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, then we're going to move on to the supervisor's report, which is me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, here we go. So I wanted to start by addressing the incident that happened over the weekend. A lot of folks in Wassaic were scared by a homeless individual who likely had some mental health issues, who was wandering around the hamlet. He apparently slept in the post office lobby, hung out in Beekman Park, but also broke into a house basement, smashed windows in downtown businesses, stole an axe and knocked on doors. 9/11 sent the New York State Police, and they responded in force but had limited options to deal with him. Forced commitment is no longer allowed, and all the psychiatric hospitals are closed, as you all are well aware. Dutchess County does have a Department of Mental Health mobile crisis intervention team, but we found out too late. They also have to get the permission of the individual to give him any help, and I don't really know whether the individual was able to make that decision. So the man was brought to Amenia Court and arraigned, and an appearance was scheduled for August 19th, but then he was released by the police, as they have to do. That's the law. It's scary that there seems to be no authority to intervene quickly to protect a disturbed individual and our community. I have called both the police and the DC Sheriff's offices to start regular patrols in the hamlet, but I want to be very clear that there's no crime spree in Amenia, there's no axe murderer running around, and there's been a lot of hysteria on the community Facebook page, and I think frankly it's wrong. I think people should calm down. I think they should know that the town is the same town it was a week ago, and try to be getting to know each other and helping each other rather than winding everyone up. The Amenia Farmers Market. We still have no news on the start date or for the NECC satellite office to open or the striping of the town hall parking lot for reasons that I gave in the last report. We have a contract for senior swim with Maplebrook, but no lifeguards still, so it's sort of frustrating that all that's moving so slowly. The sidewalk to Beekman Park, you probably know that the sidewalk has been being considered for 10 years. I think it was 10 years ago that the project started. And our engineers were ready to go this spring and did not receive an answer from New York State DOT until a week ago as to why they weren't being given a go-ahead. Our engineers had responded to the DOT comments on the drawings in 2002, but the DOT project manager retired without completing our approval paperwork. Which happens in the world, but is not very good. So what was submitted this spring got assigned to a new reviewer who gave 35 comments on the proposal. The engineer will need to revise his plans to satisfy New York State, and the contractor will need to revise his bid. We have a resolution later to hire our engineers, Labella, to make changes, seek a revised number to build the rest of the sidewalk, and get approval from DOT again. But since so many years and county grants have gotten us to this point, and we will lose the county grants if we don't take action now, it seems a bad idea to let the project lapse. Our state representative, Anil Beefan, generously offered to use member funds to help us with that, and that should cover most of the increased cost, and we have sent an application to him to explain what we want the money for. On the town website, Charlie Miller will later on present the results of the online survey he did, which has clarified both the use of the existing website and complaints about its function. There's a company which has produced well-regarded sites for other nearby towns and will investigate potential costs. LED message board. Residents have requested a sign in front of Town Hall that will let them know when meetings and events are being held. Our zoning code bans internally lit signs in town, and we have to determine if we can ignore that. I looked at a church sign with pin letters that was considered, but the staff, I don't really see town hall staff going out in a snowstorm on a daily basis to change the letters. So we need to sort of figure out what our options are there, and look at pricing. Planning and Zoning Board, we're hoping to soon replace the AV equipment in this room to improve the quality of what's broadcast and what is viewed by board members and the live audience, and to even allow us to do a Zoom meeting. Ambulance service. There was a meeting held a week ago with the 3 town supervisors and their attorneys. That's from Amenia, Dover, and Northeast, who we negotiated a contract with 5 years ago. And we discussed strategy for the start of contract negotiations with Northern Dutchess paramedics. There has been a sort of very nervous-making inflation in the time since. And I think the paramedics feel like they lost a lot of money during COVID, so I think that's going to be a tough negotiation. We also have a meeting scheduled in 2 weeks with the union rep from UPSEU, who represent the highway employees, about their new contract, and which should also be a lot of fun. The highway garage, there's a resolution later to hire a firm for an archaeological survey that was required by New York State in order to finish out the paperwork and allow us to sort of move ahead on that. We will give you more information later. Water district repairs. There was a kickoff meeting with VRI, our operators, and our newly hired engineers, Delaware Engineering, on Monday to review the extent of testing, system-wide reporting, and the schedule for completion for that project. I mean, I'm excited to sort of get more information. I feel like we went down a little rabbit hole a year or two ago, and made that a very, very complicated thing. And what I'm hoping we can do now is focus on the Lavelle Road the wells and pump house, and raise them above the level of the adjacent pond, which is what's threatening them now. They're our biggest producing wells, and I don't want to give up on them. And the gymnasium floor, Tracy Saladay, who is with us tonight, and is the architect for that project, is going to schedule a kickoff meeting with the contractor GAI and establish a schedule for their work so we can get started on doing the work that we need to make the floor in there safe and usable. And just FYI, I'm going to be on vacation next week, and during my absence, Deputy Supervisor Rosanna Ham will be in charge. She can be reached by town email, which is rham@ameniany.gov, or the town cell phone, which I just turned over to her, which is 845-417-6384. And that is the supervisor's report. Okay. Discussion, new business. Speaking of Tracy Saladay, Tracy's just going to give us a brief introduction to the changes that are proposed for the Park Pavilion, which was built quite a long time ago, donated by the Lions. And the Recreation Committee would like to make improvements, and Tracy was hired to do the drawings, which I've looked at and look very lovely. And Tracy's just going to give us a quick explanation of what the project is.
Thank you, Leo. I just,
You want to tell me when to move? You want to tell me when to move and I'll move them for you?
no, I'm happy to, you showed me the arrows, right? Thank you.
Okay. And Tracy, get close to the mic. Get close to the mic.
Okay, that close?
Yes, that close.
Okay. As Leo said, my name is Tracy Saladay, and I've been working on improvements to the Beekman Park Pavilion since late December of 2023. Let's see if this will work.
Oh, maybe because that's lit.
I don't think it's going to reach. It's a cat toy. You can see in the first photo that the pavilion has a generous covered seating area and covered walkways on the sides. Those all are working well. They do need better lighting, so that would be addressed. The next picture on the right is the concession prep area, and we have some requirements by the Department of Health in order to use that for food preparation. And we have looked at both a very abbreviated menu of prepared food and then also the option of perhaps being able to have a limited menu of cooked food. So that's, and then the next, let's see, yeah, we can go to the next slide. The restrooms are kind of a big concern. The plumbing doesn't really meet code. You can't see it there, but the traps and other things are a little convoluted. And we also would like to have these restrooms be accessible to handicapped. And we need to, according to the Department of Health, we need to seal the floor and give it a baseboard. So we seal that crack between the slab and the wall, and that's the same in the kitchen. Then if you look at the bottom, you see the last area in the pavilion is the maintenance area, and the room with the tractors has a plywood box on the side. That's secure storage for tools, just a plywood box. So, and as you can see, it is a little crowded. There are a lot of electrical panels in there, and they don't really have the code required clearance that you need in front of an electrical panel. So it was a request to take that space that you see at the end of the pavilion on the outside and enclose it. We wouldn't be making it weather tight. The whole building is just a 3-season building, but we would enclose it so it would be secure. So the plans, this plan shows you what is involved with the demolition. In the middle, you can see the restrooms with the stalls and the plumbing fixtures. We're actually able to make the accessible facilities we'd like to make if we demo. There's a concrete block wall that separates the men's and the women's restroom. And if that's demoed, and I'll show you on the next plan, and rearranged, we can make them accessible. The kitchen, we have planned out for being able to cook in it. We have to see what the budget requires for that. But if we close up, you can see there are two concession windows. If we close up one of them, which we could do with concrete block easily, then that would give us a cooking area at the end of the kitchen. And then the maintenance area on the right, you can see that plywood box in the corner, and then the bay on the outside, which we'd like to enclose. So this is the plan with new work. You can see, let's start on the right. You can see the maintenance area. We get an entry room and then a locked storage room before you enter what is existing maintenance area. And then if you go next to the bathrooms, you can see that where we've taken down the block wall, we can actually build a modern plumbing chase wall. And from looking at the septic system, it seems that the pipe going to the septic would probably be at about where that wall is. It's going to run under the slab of the maintenance, but we can take up some of that slab if we have to, but I think we're going to find it at approximately that spot. And you can see that in the women's room and the men's room, we're able to maintain the same number of fixtures. And we'll also add, we've got plans to add changing stations in men's and women's room in one stall. Looking at the kitchen, the door is on the top, and the window that's near the door is the one that's left open. Most of the cooking would happen down at the bottom of that room. The selling happens at the window. All the counters would be very inexpensive, stainless steel tables that are amazingly, $150, $200. The equipment does add up, so we have to see where that ends up. On the outside, the gable ends are currently a vinyl siding. I think that for the look of this, it would be sort of a shame to do all this work and not improve the broken white vinyl siding. So there's a corrugated metal that could be put up there instead, and it's quite strong. So that's what is included in the plans. The rest of the roof is fine, and it would remain. And then we do need to put new ceiling in the mechanical room because this whole roof is wooden trusses and has to be separated from the living space. So we've got to put sheetrock ceiling in the mechanical room. This is the spec for that corrugated metal. These are images created online with a tool that is the concrete coating for the bathroom and the kitchen. They have endless colors. That green packet up there is the green that's shown in the bathroom. And I picked a red, kind of like a quarry tile in the kitchen, but we can do anything. And this is not an epoxy. It's a polyurea, more industrial coating. Has a lifetime warranty, and a base can be formed with it. And there are local installers for it. And then going through the partitions for the restrooms.
Tracy, I'm going to have to cut you off just because.
Sorry.
And I want to let the board ask you questions.
Okay,
So-
I think Katie's going to take the question.
Okay, and Katie's going to take the question. Does anyone on the board have questions about this?
Well, I actually do. So who's going to use this? I mean,
Are you asking me? Ask
well,
Katie.
I'll wait till Katie gets up there.
Pull your microphone closer.
Thanks for cutting me off.
So Katie, who's going to use this?
Great question. So we are framing it for sport activities, so it gets used for baseball and soccer. So those activities would be using it. And once the park starts growing and activities start increasing, those would be those people that are using it.
So is there any revenue coming in for the use of this?
Yep. Again, great question. There would be a fee. They would also have to go through the Department of Health and get their certification. We would just be a hosting station, I guess that's the best way to put it. But we would be charging a fee, either if that's like a 6-month fee through recreation for them to use the space, a month fee, however it may work out, just depending on the scheduling. So maybe baseball wants to rent it for their 6-month season, so there would be like that 6-month fee. But it would all be through them, like their Department of Health, and whatever they sell, that would be their income. We would just be getting the income from the fee that we would charge them to use the space.
So regarding the fee structure, has that been developed?
No.
And do we have a group of people who have already, that you've reached out to and said that they have interest in?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
2 groups, actually.
Anyone else?
I would just like to emphasize, right, I'm not sure why everyone sometimes gets aggravated at recreation or hates on recreation. I think recreation as a whole in the community is good. It encourages youth, even seniors, to get out and be active, and encouraging them to not be on their cell phones and be inside all day. So with more growth and development, you are bringing more to the community as a whole and supporting the community, whether that's youth, seniors, whatever it may be. You're supporting everyone, and that's the main focus of recreation. So when we talk about parks and talking about updating this is for the community, to encourage community to come out. Just like the music series, just like craft area hours, things like that, that's encouraging the community to come out and be active, so we're not so absorbed on cell phones or social media nowadays. I'm happy to give a tour of Beekman Park. I know a lot of people don't go down there. I'm here Monday through Friday, so if anyone ever wants to come down and meet me, I'm more than welcome to show you the space and show you what my guys are working with. We do have a small little space that they could not even walk through, so the extra storage in the back would be great. The bathrooms are not ADA compliant whatsoever, so to encourage more people to come down to the park, having those ADA compliant bathrooms are a must. So if anyone ever wants a tour, I'm more than happy to give that. If anyone ever has questions or wants to talk to me, my email is just recdirector@ameniany.gov, or you can give me a call, whatever works, but I'm more than happy to have you and show you the space.
Thank you, Katie.
You're welcome.
Okay, Troutbeck is up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Joshua Mackey with the law firm of Mackey, Butts, and Whalen. We represent Troutbeck. I'm here with my partner, Kara Whalen, who's to my side. And some of you may know Anthony Champalimo, who's here on behalf of Troutbeck. As the supervisor pointed out, we're here for informational purposes only tonight to talk about the conservation easement and the exciting opportunity that the town will have as grantee of this conservation easement, which will encumber, it will preserve a very sensitive area on the Troutbeck property. To be precise, the easement covers approximately 23.35 acres of a 43.5 acre property. That's 53.6% of the property. You probably all know the property to some degree. I hope you do. And our client has been very open to the idea of people stopping by and visiting and talking about the plans. So if anybody's interested in doing that, I'm sure he'll accommodate. The reason we're here to talk about a conservation easement specifically is because last year, just around this time, July, the planning board approved an adaptive reuse plan proposed by Troutbeck for its expansion. And one of the conditions of that approval was that there be a conservation easement like the one that has been drafted and provided to the board. Some highlights of the easement, and we of course can answer any questions that you have. The town should know that Troutbeck has been working with a conservation partner for these past 2 years, Housatonic Valley Association, who would manage, oversee the conservation easement. That is to say that the town need not be concerned about where they're going to find the expertise to make sure the easement is being complied with. There are a lot of mechanics that I know that Mr. Lindars, your attorney, and my office, we're also getting input from, of course, the Housatonic Valley Association on all of this. They've been going back and forth. So if the board has any technical questions about how it's going to work, we're happy to address those tonight. But we wanted to present it to you, make you aware of this. You may not have been aware that it was part of the approvals of last year. And of course, Troutbeck looks forward to the opportunity to partner with not only HVA, but also with the town in conserving this very important property.
Just to be clear, or just to make it clear for people who haven't been following through the planning board process, this is just talking about the planted spaces, the animals and plants that are in the conservation area. It has nothing to do with the architecture of the place, right?
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
And it was mentioned earlier by a member of the public that there are other facade easements in place, and that is correct. You know, the board should probably know that this property lies within designated areas of conservation and preservation, including the Hinchy-Hudson River Valley National Heritage Area that was designated by Congress in 1996 as one of 49 federally recognized national heritage areas. The Hudson Valley Greenway area lies within that as well. That was established back in 1991. The Taconic Ridge Forest Legacy Area was designated in 1994. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service designated Harlem Valley Calcareous Wetlands Complex in the Taconic Highlands in 1997. And there's a report on that entitled The Significant Habitat and Habitat Complexes of the New York Bight Watershed.
Okay, I didn't mean to release all of that.
There's a lot going on there. And this easement not only protects the land, we should mention a couple thousand linear feet of waterfront area on the creeks.
Great. Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay. So I'm the only annoying one. Thank you very much for transmitting that information.
Sure thing.
Okay. All right. Next up, Charlie Miller is going to talk about the survey that he sent out regarding the Town of Amenia website, or improvements there too.
Hi. So there has been, over the last couple of years, a lot of feedback from the public about the website and people's displeasure with it. Our current website was part of a shared services agreement with Dutchess County and was developed about 4 years ago and sort of went into service 3 years ago. Our contract with Dutchess County ends at the end of this year. So all websites have to be hosted somewhere. That's kind of the server that it sits on, and we pay Dutchess County about $2,000 a year to host our website, and that also includes some technical support. So we put together a survey that had, I don't know, 10 or some odd questions, and we had 67 responses. Oh, it's not. Oh, there we go. Oops. Oh, too many. Here we go. So how often do you visit the website? So, about 55% of people said not very often, but 45% of respondents visit the site at least once a week. That's actually probably pretty significant, truthfully. I mean, that's a decent amount of people coming to the site every week. We asked what are some of the sections that you're normally going to on the website, and although this graph is not sorted most to least, the little box to the right shows that 76% of respondents are looking for the events calendar. About 50% of people are looking for just contact information. Minutes and resolutions, so we have clearly a very engaged community who wants to read what's happening with the town board, as well as there are a number of committees and other boards, planning board, zoning board of appeals, that publish their resolutions and their minutes. Town code is about 40%. Building permits is 20%. And then budgets is about 20%. So clearly people are very engaged in what's happening in the town. Which department do you frequent most often? So the town clerk is just shy of 30%. Planning and zoning is 26%. And recreation is 23%. So town clerk would have forms, places that you pay certain fees. Planning and zoning, if you want to do anything in the town, build a pool, build a fence, you would be going to the planning site, so the building department site. Those are kind of all together the same.
And no one is interested in me, apparently.
No, unfortunately not. Or at least not you on the website. How easy is it to find information? So this is the big one. 90%, 91% of respondents have trouble finding information on the site. So the orange, which is 75%, is that it takes some time, and I think that that's being probably really generous. Only shy of 10% of the people think it's very easy to find stuff. So satisfaction with the layout and navigation. So navigation is when you go to a website and at the top or maybe at the side there's all these sections. That's the navigation or the nav. Over 50% of people feel that it's either awful or pretty bad to try to navigate through our site. And only, shy of 3% think that it's amazing. So devices you use, this is important because, a lot of people pick up their phone and they look up stuff on their phone, or they look up stuff on another mobile device like a tablet. 50% of people access our site through some kind of mobile device. Our current site is not designed to be mobile friendly. So if anybody's ever tried to look at, find something on your phone going to our website, it's pretty bad. This has come up a lot, email and text notifications for either emergency things or for being able to sign up to the site when something is posted. The town board packet is posted or minutes are posted. Almost 60% of respondents would sign up and for text or email alerts, and 82% of the respondents are actually likely to sign up for those alerts.
And again, that's really critical because when the pipe broke, there was no way to contact everyone in town. The guy running around was sick. There was no way to contact people in town. It does require people in town to actually provide their text information, and people have been somewhat reluctant in the past, but I think it's pretty important and worth their while.
Yeah. It's funny, our website now that was developed by Dutchess County does have supposedly the ability to put in an email address to sign up for notifications, but we have no back-end way of actually managing that. So it's kind of a, dead hole. So which features would you like to see the website have? And we had a number of responses that were worded in different ways, but I combined them, into some bullet points. So search. Multiple people, we want to search the site. We want to go, our site has a search function, but if you type in something, you really just get what looks like a really bad,
Google search.
Not even a good Google search, right? It's almost like an Explorer 1.0 research. So, and that's also being able to search, having a tool that you could possibly search for minutes, or resolutions and things like that. Emergency notification, which we saw on the previous slide. Simplified menu and navigation and layout so that you come to the site and it's very intuitive. You understand where you can go to find what information. Contemporary feel, that was, many people said they felt like the site really looked bad and old and dated. More user-friendly, I think that touches on both the navigation and the ability to use it on a mobile device. Summary of major projects and their timelines. A better calendar that's more readable. So the current calendar, I think our website is probably built off of WordPress, and our calendar may be a Google sort of calendar in the back end. But when you click on it, you only get the event and the time. There's no specific information. It doesn't actually take you to a page or a pop-up that would possibly have more information about that particular activity that's happening. Folders for planning board application and materials. I think this probably goes back to people going to the planning board or the Department of Buildings section in our site and being able to quickly understand what permit application they need. And then better organized and user-friendly. That is sort of a theme throughout it all. And some of the additional comments, this is kind of a rehash of those others. It's very generic, it's not intuitive, hard to navigate, comes over and over and over again. I love the very last one though, because this is a direct quote. The site should be easy to use and enjoyable. Which, right, we all want to be happy and go to something that makes us happy. We ask people to give us links to sites that they like and that they feel are intuitive. So the town of Sharon was one site. I mean, it definitely looks fun and user-friendly. You'll see that a commonality between a lot of these sites is that they have two navigations. So to go back, there's the top navigation at the top of the site that has, a couple of places you can go, and then it has a secondary navigation with these buttons at the bottom of the screen. This, by the way, there are two main website vendors that just do municipalities. So those will probably be the ones that we go to get quotes for. Civic Plus is the largest throughout the country. They tend to be a little bit on the pricey side, but that's one. The other is Town Web. So Hillsdale was another site. Again, you sort of see the same commonality. You have a top nav, and then you have a bottom nav with buttons. And a search field, a search field that actually returns a good search for you. The Town of Dover, this is a Civic Plus site. I find the top nav to be a little messy, but. And then the Village of Millbrook, this is also done by Town Web. So the next steps with this, so now that we have this feedback from the community, we can put together a scope of work of what a website redesign would be. And so that generally entails a sitemap. A sitemap is really, think of a hierarchical map that starts with the navigation that we've mentioned a couple times, and then it sort of shows pages beneath that. Feature set and functionality, that is, we want the ability to search. We want to be able to have the emergency alerts. Those kinds of things are functionality. UX and UI, we can all walk away from this little presentation with some lingo. UX is user experience. That's the way I experience a site when I'm moving through it, which relates to the navigation and how I find stuff. And then the user interface is what ultimately is shown to me, right? That's the imagery, the way buttons look. So those goals we should put into our statement of work, and then we will seek quotes from, typical municipal website vendors. So that again would be like a Civic Plus, a Town Web, and then present those, quotes to the town board. Again, I think the goal is to select a vendor in the next month or two, and so that we could do a website redesign and have that ready to launch by the time our contract ends with the county. One thing I'll mention, and some people are really worried about this, is that can we just redo our current site? You know, it's like a Mr. Potato Head. You really can't add functionality to something that's already programmed. These other websites are very similar, or these website vendors that just do this for a living. It's like going and getting Microsoft Excel. You know, you pull it off the shelf. It's an off-the-shelf thing. It has all the functionality versus programming Excel. You know, you're clearly going to get a really Mr. Potato Heady kind of thing if you do that versus taking something off the shelf. Questions?
Yeah, Charlie, what, 67 respondents is what % of the survey outreach, and what was the mode of the outreach?
So the supervisor announced it at a couple of town board meetings. It was emailed to everybody at town hall asking them to send it around. It was posted by a couple of board members to the various Facebook groups that people tend to visit.
Okay, so we don't know what the total number or what this represents.
Well,
there's no way of tracking it, is what I'm hearing.
A way of tracking like how many people it was presented to versus how many responded?
Well, if you did something like Constant Contact, for example, and you would have a number of how many people opened the...
I think that would be great. We don't have an email list that we could broadcast a survey to. That will be a benefit should we establish a new website that you can sign up for things, but outside of, I know that I asked a lot of my friends in town to send it to all of their friends, so it was kind of more like a circle of influence campaign.
This is wonderful, and there's a bigger picture here I'll get to, not now, but on another subject. But this is obviously something that needs to be done. Yeah.
And we have had a problem in the past in terms of wanting to do surveys, and it is, again, you can't reach everyone in town. We don't have a way to do that. So I think, just indicating that this was a little complicated to get the word out on this is another reason that we need a better website, because it would allow us to engage people, invite everyone to participate in something like this, which we can't do now.
Yeah. I will say it was interesting. I did have a question that was sort of open-ended, do you have any other comments? And a couple included in the presentation were, thank you for doing this, which was validating.
Just what he likes to hear.
And I will say, by the way, if any board or committee, in town hall wants to do a survey, I'm more than happy to. I mean, it's a Google form. It's really super easy. So we can survey away.
Yeah. But getting it out isn't easy, and that's why that is really important in a new website.
So I know we're running long. Are there any other questions? Otherwise, I'll move on to the next.
Okay.
Oh, we get to see him
Okay.
again.
Yes, we get to see Charlie again.
I know, right? This is really exciting. So I'll. Okay. So the next thing a lot of people have asked about is a digital sign at Town Hall. I want to say at the top of this presentation, as the supervisor mentioned, our sign law in Amenia prohibits illuminated signs. So you may notice the signs around town have a light that either shines down on them or shines up on them. So the town board would have to,
exempt itself.
Exempt itself from that. So what we initially did was look at the way, we have a small town hall sign, which you can't really see because there's trees in front of it.
It's also peeling.
But just to sort of get inspiration from what town hall signs look like in rural communities. So most of these signs that you can see have two posts and a signage at the top of them between the two posts, or either they are pedestals. So the one on the lower left would be considered sort of a pedestal style sign. And these materials can be a lot. Generally in rural communities, they are all made out of wood. Pedestal signs sometimes will have a brick or stone base. Here's a couple of more examples. Sizing, most of the sizes of these signs are between 4 and 6 wide and 4 to 5 foot tall. This is a image from the road looking up from 22 looking south.
It wouldn't be red, of course.
Yeah, well, and it would be red. So this is just a really a bad drawing of where the sign placement would be proposed, which is to the right of the entrance driveway to Town Hall.
This will be better.
I have a couple of these that might look a little bit better. So the upper image is taken looking north of where the sign would be, and then the one on the bottom is just a little closer to where the sign would be. Of course, a suggestion kind of thing. And here is sort of a straight on, the town hall in the background, and in the foreground would be the sign. It wouldn't be it would be perpendicular to the sidewalk or to the road. This is sort of some examples of digital signs. So these are LED signs that again would be like on the left we see a pedestal style sign, there's a brick base, there's an LED board, and then the top portion of that is illuminated in this particular example. The very top image in the middle is kind of the two posts. It actually does have a brick base or a stone base. The LED board is in the middle of the two posts, and then at the top is a wood topper with the town's name. So you sort of get a sense of different styles that you can have with these. And then this is just a very rudimentary mock-up of what the town hall sign could be. In keeping with our rural nature signs, by the way, our sign law actually gives you bonuses for how big a sign can be depending upon the materials that are used. So if you have a wood sign, you get a bit of a size bonus for it. So the idea is to try to keep it in context of the town. So this would be 2 wood posts, well, ultimately 4. We'll show you a side view of it. A sign that's approximately 5 or so feet tall and 4 or so feet wide. A little mention about the LED sizing. So we just worked with the same company that did Weebatuck's sign, and that company, their LED boards come in 1x2 pieces that are sort of like Legos that stick together. So you can have a sign that's 1x2, 1x4, 2x4, so it's that kind of thing. So this is representing a sign that would be 2 feet tall, 4 feet wide. But of course, it could be, larger if we wanted it to be. And so this is an elevation to the side. Those Lego pieces that are 1x2, they're actually 4 or 5 inches deep. So the depth of the sign is almost a foot. So the idea here is that having 4x4 wood post on on all 4 corners of that sign to make it look a little less imposing, and to kind of have reveals around. In the middle here would be the LED portion. The topper of the sign would be made out of wood with Amenia Town Hall, Town of Amenia Town Hall, something of that nature, and an LED strip that illuminated facing up the topper portion of the sign. To give an idea about what generally is presented on these signs, so you can put anything. You can put imagery, you can have multiple colors and all of that. The back end of this particular sign technology is this user interface is online, so it lives all in the cloud. So somebody at home, assigned to this project can create a schedule, that says planning board meeting Tuesday, 11 o'clock, whatever. That is on the sign for 8 seconds or so. That's kind of typically for these signs. And then it can, present something else, and you can create a whole menu of what's presented and timing. This software is also on an app, so somebody with a phone who's assigned to do this can create those kinds of things. The sign technology also allows you to dim the sign at night so that it's not really bright. In the afternoon you need a bright sign because you're competing with daylight, and at night it can be dimmed. It can also be turned off. You can decide how you want to do that. Before I get away from this, let me get back to just this here. The town board may want to, where's this at? Here. May want to create a policy around, if they do decide to move forward with this, what can be presented on the sign. I mean, the town board may decide that it's not keeping in the aesthetic of our town to have pictures or to have colors, that the only thing that's presented is white text. You know, there's ways in which that you might address
Which is the way
opposition.
Weebatuck is set now. I mean, Weebatuck has a dark ground and white letters.
Yeah.
And nothing else, yeah.
We have pictures of all the graduates. Seniors.
Yeah, we're not going to have
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so that is the thing, like, you know, I think that the town board, and I think the community will want to discuss the way in which stuff presents, because this would be an exception to what is allowed in the town. So let's get to cost. I'll wrap it up. So a signboard that is 2x4, the pixels is the sort of the resolution. Think about it with your TV. You know, you can have a low resolution, high resolution. More pixels, the higher resolution. The sign and the installation. So Cirrus, which is this company, most of them honestly are about the same, will build the wood surround. They will, the technology of the sign, the sign components and installation is just shy of $40,000 for a sign that's 2x4 at 9 millimeter of the LEDs. This price doesn't include running electricity to where the sign would be. And I don't know, off the top of my head, I'm thinking that'd be $7,500 or something. You know, it requires somebody to actually dig a trench from town, you know, from the town hall junction box to right up past the sidewalk. If for a little bit more resolution, it's a couple of $1,000s more. If the sign was 2x6 or 3x4, it's the same price because again, it's just a Lego system. It would be, you know, again, $42,000, $432 versus the 39 or 40. That's okay, thank you. That's great. So I've gone over all of this. But this is just sort of like what the town board needs to really contemplate. You know, this is, our sign law doesn't allow for an internally illuminated sign, and I've just included some bullet points as to how you get signage bonus if it's made of wood. You know, clearly we get the 15%, we're only advertising town hall stuff, so it goes through that. And then this, also I just reviewed, you know, some of the things that the town board might want to discuss as a policy, should they go forward. Any questions? No questions? No questions at all?
No, but it's riveting, Charlie.
Okay. So I think that the town board, I hope you would have a discussion about like how you'd move forward. We do last year the town board did approve a significant engineering budget, contemplating a number of these types of projects, not sort of new projects, but projects that have been contemplated for a while. So, you know, there's funds there. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, Rosanna, you're up now. Do you have slides?
Actually, no.
You do?
I have paper.
Oh, well, paper's nice too.
So this is an email that came from Ken. He kind of jumped the gun as far as the meeting is concerned, but that's okay. You got his message. So I'm going to pass this out. But in the meantime, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what we currently have. So we have the industrial and then commercial board. And there is no evidence that they have ever actually met since they have been formed. There are like no term limits to the members. It says that they serve at the pleasure of the town board. Their charge is kind of, you know, to decide what kind of businesses get, from what I gathered, and Ian can correct me if I'm wrong, get, you know, like tax incentive kinds of things and have that kind of, so it's not really specific. It's not really very specific. It's not very clear on what their job really is. So what Ken was proposing is that we form, either extend this committee or form a new committee to Economic Development Committee that would actually look into trying to encourage the growth in town. The thing that he sent out, the piece that he sent out, has some really interesting and provocative questions that we should take a look at. So one of the things that I will say is, and I think Leo and I spoke about this, and one of the things that we could do to even start investigating any of this is to convene that committee and then...
If all the members are alive.
Right. And I can name 2 members. So they do have a chair, and so I think that would be our first step to doing that, because obviously economic development is something that is really important in this town. By the way, there's going to be a new florist coming to town pretty soon, well, October, I guess, the target date is, and that sounds pretty exciting. I guess the shop's going to be very nice. It's James's wife,
Oh,
and I can't
flower
think of
shop.
her name. Yeah,
Okay, that's great.
and
Yes, I should know her name,
so
but don't.
I've had a couple chats with her. So that's pretty exciting. So, the idea of trying to get economic growth in the town of Amenia. So, you can look this. Do you want to add anything to what you sent us?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
But nothing hostile or insulting, I hope.
I already took care of that. It's my birthday. Go easy on me, man. I'm giving up my birthday to spend it with you.
Happy birthday.
We're touched.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy
Well,
birthday.
I'm giving up my birthday for the planning board, so.
We'll celebrate together. All right, very quickly, I just want to clarify what some of economic development is. On the micro, I've heard from several people, Peggy's, someplace we all go to and would like to be open for more days, but she can't find help. That's where the economic committee or the development committee comes in and helps a local merchant. You're putting in a new gym floor. Did anyone talk to the company in Wassaic that does sports floors? Shop local, shop Amenia, buy Amenia. That's what an economic development committee does. You find ways to leverage what you have. If you've been to Freshtown, you find businesses and you give them incentives to move in, or you create within the code that we have a way to talk to real estate developers and say, you bring someone in, we will whatever. We find a way to incentivize bringing in businesses where it makes sense to. We revitalize Main Street. So it's not getting an Amazon distro center to take over Keene Stud. It's about leveraging what we have, leveraging our outlets, saying to the town hall, well, if Peggy's opens up for 5-6 days a week, every weekday she will bake pastries and we'll send them over here. We find a couple of kids who want a job. We train labor. That's just on a very micro level. We also find out where are companies looking to expand. That's not hard to find. We put a brochure together. It's not hard to do these days. And we make sure that we have a representative there. So it's essential. I think we all realize that. I said that earlier. I really hope you do consider it. I think it'll be a benefit to the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. I just wanted to say something. You can sit down. It's all right. I'm not going to ask any questions. I think that what's interesting, did you pass that out to the audience? Did you have enough copies?
No.
To pass it out. So let me just, first of all, Ken.
Actually, I have a couple of copies left.
Okay. First of all, Ken, I think this is terrific. My frustration with knowing that we have an industrial and commercial board is that it's an incredibly passive way of improving the downtown. What that's designed for is to come up with incentives that for companies that have already found us and give them some kind of tax break to convince them to move here. And I think what is really important about an economic development committee as opposed to the committee we have is, first of all, it will meet and everyone will be alive. But beyond that, I think that it's taking an active role in terms of figuring out what businesses in town need and trying to make that happen. Peggy's is a really good example because I know how long she struggled to get help. Of course, affordable housing would mean someone can afford to live here and work for her. The NECC Community Center, when it opens, they do have a lot of employment programs for high school kids. In fact, we've been using one this summer and he's great. But I mean, I think that there are a lot of opportunities to kind of make all this stuff work together. And, you know, there is a frustration about Amenia not getting new stores or stores closing or bakeries not opening. And and there isn't a business group. I mean, unlike Millerton, which has a very busy and active business group, we don't have that either. So I think the idea of kind of taking the bull by the horns and setting up a committee whose sole function is to look for opportunities, look for problems, look for opportunities to solve them is terrific. I'm just going to let you know that for those of you who don't have this, the header is Amenia and Main Street dying. There's a paragraph from the Salisbury Lakeville Economic Development Committee bemoaning the conditions in their town and the loss of foot traffic. There's a very good sort of analysis of why small town main streets are dying. There are a bunch of questions for each of us about, to answer yes or no to, like promotion of local businesses. Are there initiatives to promote and support local businesses on Main Street, such as marketing campaigns, events, and loyalty programs? I think that's an obvious no, but there's quite a number of important issues that get addressed. And maybe we can post this, I think maybe we can post this on the website so that people can actually take a crack at it, because I think it is really interesting, and there are some solutions listed as well. But again, I think it's really an important point, and I think that switching out a dead committee for a live committee with a very specific purpose is a really good thing for Amenia. So, any questions?
So John, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, the only thing I have to add is that this is the Dutchess County Economic Development website. It's really easy to find online. There's good suggestions. There's a lot of ways to connect and become part of their existing technology and website.
Right, and they also have a tourism and development committee too, or group, which also is someone we could get help from. Anyway,
the Chamber of Commerce site for the county, and it has lots of communities, but not Amenia. So some of those sites are great for the county. Are they great for the town?
No. I've been to those meetings, and they are really focused on, there was a question, is Millerton part of Dutchess County that came up, and even Amenia at one point that came up at these meetings when I used to go to the Dutchess County Chamber of Commerce meetings years ago. Where you're from, Millerton? Oh, is that in Dutchess County?
Okay, I think we should move on to the resolutions. The first two regard the charcoal kilns, and I'm going to actually read one because I have them in order this time. And then we'll pass them on. Resolution 90 of 2024, adopting a negative declaration with respect to the town accepting a donation of land from Deep Hollow Game Preserve, LLC. Whereas Deep Hollow Game Preserve, LLC, Deep Hollow, owns certain property located on Deep Hollow Road and New York State Route 22 in the town of Amenia, the property. And whereas on the property stand two historic beehive kilns built in approximately 1825, and whereas Deep Hollow has offered to donate approximately 0.29 acres of its property containing the two historic beehive kilns, and whereas the town of Amenia is desirous of accepting the donation of approximately 0.29 acres of land containing two historic beehive kilns from Deep Hollow, and whereas, I keep wanting to edit this for brevity, Ian, but I'm going to restrain myself. And whereas pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, Part 617 NYCRR, commonly known as SECRA, the town board conducted an environmental review of the project. And whereas the town board has determined that the proposed project is an unlisted action under SECRA and is not subject to coordinated review, and whereas Deep Hollow has prepared Part 1 of the short environmental assessment form, SEAF, and thereafter the town caused to be prepared parts 2 and 3 of the SEAF. A copy of parts 1, 2, and 3 of the SEAF are annexed hereto and made a part hereof. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. 1, the recitations above set forth are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. 2, the town board has determined that the proposed action is an unlisted action pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, Part 617, New York NYCRR, SECRA, for which an SEAF has been prepared, a copy of which is annexed hereto. 3, the town board hereby finds and determines that A, it has considered the proposed action, reviewed all parts of the SEAF, reviewed the criteria set forth in 6 NYCRR, section 617.7C, thoroughly analyzed the relevant areas of potential environmental concern, and has duly considered all of the potential environmental impacts and their magnitude in connection with the proposed action, and B, the proposed action will not result in any large and/or important environmental impacts, and therefore will not have significant adverse impact in the environment, and C, the reasons supporting this determination are set forth on the attached determination of non-significance with respect to this proposed action, and D, the town board of the town of Amenia hereby adopts a negative declaration pursuant to 6 NYCRR section 617.7 with respect to the proposed action. And 4, the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to sign the negative declaration and determination of non-significance with respect to the proposed action. 5, the town board hereby directs the town clerk to file a copy of the negative declaration and determination of non-significance in the records of the town. 6, this resolution shall take effect immediately. I'll make that motion.
I second it.
Supervisor Blackman?
Yes.
Councilmembers Remillard?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Ahern?
Yes.
And I do want to note that the owners of the property have been extraordinarily patient with the town board, who has been talking about this for a long time, so I'm really glad we're getting close to something that can be signed. Do you want to take the next one?
Sure.
Number 91.
Authorizing town board of the town of Amenia to accept a donation of 0.29 acres of land on Deep Hollow Road from Deep Hollow Game Preserve LLC to preserve 2 historic kilns situated thereon, whereas Deep Hollow Game Preserve LLC Deep Hollow owns certain property located on Deep Hollow Road and New York State Route 22 in the town of Amenia, the property, and whereas on the property stand 2 historic beehive kilns, the kilns built in approximately 1825, and whereas the property is subject to a conservation easement donated by the property's prior owner, Alan Shope, to the Duchess Land Conservancy Incorporated at the DLC, dated February 24th, 1997, and filed with the Office of the Dutchess County Clerk on March 19, 1997, at document number 02-1997-1864, the conservation easement. And whereas the purpose of the conservation easement is to conserve the scenic, historic, open, and natural character of the view from Deep Hollow Road and New York State Route 22. And whereas Deep Hollow has offered to donate the kilns and approximately 0.29 acres of its property to the town of Amenia in accordance with the terms of a donation agreement, a copy of which is annexed hereto and made a part hereof. And whereas the town of Amenia recognizes a compelling need to preserve the kilns in their historic condition for the edification of future generations of inhabitants of the town of Amenia as a reminder of the town's historic past. And whereas Deep Hollow has applied to the planning board for a minor 2-lot subdivision of the property to create a 0.29 acre lot to encompass the 2 beehive kilns and improvements thereto.
Oh my God, this is long.
Wow.
If you want someone else to take over in the middle, you let them know.
And whereas the Executive Committee of the DLC has approved the subdivision of the approximately 0.29 acres of the property containing the kilns and all improvements conducted by or on behalf of Deep Hollow. And whereas the town board of the town of Amenia, pursuant to its analysis under the New York State Court of Appeals decision in the matter of County of Monroe versus City of Rochester, 72 New York 2D 338 533 NYS 2D 702 1988, has determined that the creation of the subdivision to be donated to the town shall be exempt from the requirements of the town zoning law, provided the 2.29 acre subdivided parcel is donated and transferred to the town in accordance with the terms and conditions of the donation agreement. And whereas the town board of the town of Amenia has determined that the proposed action is an unlisted action pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, Part 617 NYCRR, commonly known as SECRA, and is not subject to coordinated review. And whereas Deep Hollow has prepared Part 1 of the short environmental assessment form as part of their application for subdivision approval, and thereafter the town caused to be prepared Parts 2 and 3 of the SEAF, all of which have been reviewed by the town board. And whereas the town board has determined that there are no adverse environmental impacts associated with the proposed action, and hereby issued a declaration of non-significance pursuant to resolution number 90. And whereas pursuant to town law 648, the town board of the town of Amenia, the town may take by gift, grant, bequest, or devise and hold real and personal property absolutely or in trust for parks or gardens, or for the erection of statues, monuments, buildings, or structures, or for any public use upon such terms or conditions as may be prescribed by the grantor or donor and accepted by said town, and provided for the proper administration of the same. And whereas the town board of the town of Amenia would like to graciously accept this generous gift from Deep Hollow Game Preserve LLC of 2 beehive kilns and approximately 0.29 acres of land to be used and maintained in accordance with the donation agreement and the provisions set forth in this resolution. Now therefore be it resolved as follows: the recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. The town board of the town of Amenia, on behalf of all the residents of the town of Amenia, hereby graciously accepts this generous donation from Deep Hollow Game Preserve LLC of 2 beehive kilns and approximately 0.29 acres of land for the purposes set forth in this resolution and in accordance with the terms and conditions provided in the annexed donation agreement. The town board of the town of Amenia, by resolution number 90, right, hereby determines that it has considered the proposed action, reviewed all parts of this SEAF, reviewed the criteria set forth in 6 NYCRR section 617.7, and has determined that there are no adverse environmental impacts associated with the proposed action, and hereby issues a declaration of non-significance. The town board of the town of Amenia, pursuant to its analysis under the New York State Court of Appeals decision in the matter of County of Monroe versus City of Rochester, 72 New York 2D 338 533 NYSD 2D 702 1988, hereby determines that the creation of the subdivision to be donated to the town shall be exempt from the requirements of the town zoning law, provided the 0.29 acre subdivided parcel is donated and transferred to the town in accordance with the terms and conditions of the donation agreement. The town board of the town of Amenia hereby authorizes the planning board chairperson to stamp and sign the approved minor subdivision plat and Mylar upon Deep Hollow's execution of the donation agreement. The town board of the town of Amenia hereby authorizes and directs the town supervisor to execute the donation agreement and perform all actions necessary to acquire such kilns and land on behalf of the town of Amenia, including executing all closing documents and paying all sums necessary to acquire the premises, including obtaining title insurance, title reports, conducting inspections, and any other closing costs. This resolution shall take effect immediately. Motion by me.
Good. You certainly have earned it. I'll second that.
Supervisor Blackman?
Yes.
Councilmembers Revillard?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Ahern?
Yes. He always makes me do the long ones.
Not intentional, I swear. Okay, Brad, you want to take the next one, which is the Archaeological Services, and 92.
Approving proposal for archaeological services to conduct a Phase 1A and Phase 1B environmental review in connection with the Town of Amenia Highway Garage and Salt Storage Facility project. Whereas the New York State Historic Preservation Office Parks and Recreation and Historic Preservation is requiring the town of Amenia to conduct a Phase 1A literature review and sensitivity assessment and Phase 1B archaeological, boy, I'm really struggling with that one today. Archaeological Field Reconnaissance Survey, Phase 1A and 1B for the Town of Amenia Highway Garage and Salt Storage Facility project. And whereas the Town of Amenia is seeking to retain professional archaeological services for the required Phase 1A, Phase 1B environmental review for the Town of Amenia Highway Garage and Salt Storage Facility Project.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry.
Whereas the Town of Amenia has requested and received 8 proposals for the Phase 1A, Phase 1B environmental reviews as follows. AKRF Inc., $24,000. Chrysalis Archaeological Consultants Inc., $29,080. EDR, $14,900. Arcan Archaeological Services, $7,150. Historical Perspectives Inc., $11,000. Hudson Cultural Services, $5,620. Hudson Mohawk Archaeological Consultants LLC, $6,500. And Landmark Archaeological Inc., $8,950. Whereas the Town Board of Amenia would like to retain the services of Hudson Cultural Service to conduct the required Phase 1A, Phase 1B environmental review for the Town of Amenia Highway Garage and Salt Storage Facility Project. Whereas this is a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act and therefore not subject to the review of secret. And whereas the professional archaeological services provided by Hudson Cultural Services to the town constitute professional services which are exempt from the bidding requirements under General Municipal Law 103 of the Town of Amenia's procurement policy. Now, therefore, to resolve as follows: the recitations set forth above and are incorporated in the resolution as fully set forth and adopted herein. 2, the Town Board, the Town of Amenia has determined that these Type 2 actions under seeker are therefore not subject to review under seeker. 3, the Town Board, the Town of Amenia determines that the archaeological services of the Hudson Cultural Services constitute professional services which are exempt from the bidding requirements under the General Municipal Law 103, the Town of Amenia's procurement policy. Number 4, the Board of the Town of Amenia hereby approves the proposal from Hudson Cultural Service in the amount of $5,620 in accordance with the proposal dated July 22nd, 2024 for archaeological services to conduct the required Phase 1A, Phase 1B environmental review for the Town of Amenia Highway Garage and Salt Shed Facility Project, a copy of which is here annexed to. 5, the Town Board and the Town of Amenia hereby authorizes the Town Supervisor to execute an annexed proposal of the Hudson Cultural Services to conduct the required Phase 1A, Phase 1B environmental review for the Town of Amenia Highway Garage and Salt Shed Facility Project. The Town Board and the Town of Amenia hereby authorizes the payment for said archaeological services in the amount of $5,620 to be paid from engineering CE budget line number 14404.1.0.0. And I make that motion.
I'll second that. I don't want to steal all the seconding. I don't want to hog it.
Supervisor Black?
Yes.
Councilmembers Rebler?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Ahern?
Yes.
That means you're up.
Okay,
Rosanna.
resolution number 93, approving Labella Associates DPC contract modification number 2 for the Town of Amenia Route 44 sidewalk extension project. Whereas Labella Associates DPC, Labella, on behalf of the Town of Amenia, was assisting Raha Contractors Inc., Raha, the contractor for the Town of Amenia Route 44 sidewalk extension project, to secure a New York State Department of Transportation permit for the contract work, more specifically sidewalk, pedestrians, fall protection, and catch basins along portions of Route 44 in the Town of Amenia. And whereas during the permitting process, Labella was informed by New York State DOT that the contract documents were never approved during the design phase because the New York State DOT permit reviewer had retired, and that the contract documents would need to be reviewed again prior to the issuance of the DOT work permit. And whereas on July 22nd, 2024, almost 2 years after the original review, Labella was informed by the New York State DOT that an additional 35 items needed to be addressed prior to the issuance of DOT work permit, which were contrary and in addition to prior comments, responded to the original design submittal. And whereas even though the majority of the comments from the New York State DOT are clerical in nature, some do warrant a professional engineer response, and all are required to be added to the contract documents prior to New York State DOT issuing a work permit. And whereas Labella has proposed a contract modification to provide the additional survey and civil engineering support to the town of Amenia required by the New York State DOT to issue the necessary work permits to Raha for the contract work, more specifically sidewalk, pedestrian, fall protection, and catch basins along portions of Route 44 in the town of Amenia. And whereas the town board of the town of Amenia is desirous of approving the proposed contract modification from Labella dated July 30th, 2024, a copy of which is annexed hereto. And whereas this is a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, and therefore not subject to review under SECRA. And whereas the professional engineering services provided by Labella constitute professional services which are exempt from the bidding requirements under General Municipal Law number 103 and the Town of Amenia's procurement policy, now therefore be it resolved as follows. The recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. The Town Board of the Town of Amenia has determined that this is a Type 2 action under SECRA and therefore not subject to review under SECRA. That the Town Board of the Town of Amenia determines that the professional engineering services to be provided by Labella constitute professional services which are exempt from the bidding requirements under the General Municipal Law number 103 and the Town of Amenia's procurement policy. That the Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby approves contract modification number 2 from Labella in the amount of $49,700 in accordance with the proposal dated July 30th, 2024, a copy of which is annexed hereto. The Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute the annexed contract modification from Labella by and on behalf of the Town of Amenia. And the Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby authorizes the payment for said engineering services to be paid from the engineering CE budget line number 14404.1.0.0. I so move.
I'll second that. Did I say that loudly enough for you, Dawn? Okay,
Yes,
good.
I know you're my seconder. Supervisor Blackman?
Yes.
Council members Revelard?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Ahern?
Yes.
Before we move on, I have to tell a story related to the woman who retired and never signed off on the drawings. When I was a young architect in New York City, we were doing an apartment project, and we arranged for a plumbing inspection, and the plumbing inspector didn't show up, and then they gave us a new appointment a month later and still didn't show up, and then the third time they still didn't show up, and what we found out is that the plumbing inspector had died, and no one in the building department seemed to know that, which I thought was quite lovely. Okay. Other matters? Do we have other matters?
I have comments.
Comments? Okay.
So,
Does anyone have other matters? I don't really know what the difference is, but okay.
Did we have an update on the Wassaic, the limbs and the branches in front of Castlegate? When was our last update on that?
No, we haven't.
I might back out to Deirdre Houston, because I think that was where I last left off with it.
Okay.
So
Yeah, do
I'm
that
telling
if
you,
you
I'm going to
would.
look into
Okay.
it.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
okay.
Rosanna.
I would like to, I went to the senior picnic last Saturday, and it was very nice, and I would like to thank Katie and her husband, and Erica Howard and Nicole Ahern for their hard work and making this a delightful occasion. I had brought up about the communication system as an interim service for an alert service with Weebatuck. Spoke to the superintendent today. The person who is in charge of that is on vacation and will be back on Monday. He'll come back to me on that on Monday, and they're actually also looking at another platform apparently as well. I also want to mention the beautiful flowers this year. I think the Enhancement Committee, Anna Hayduke, and the co-chairs Margie O'Brien and Lauren Wass, and all the other people that have planted, designed, weeded, watered, and did all of those things that created beautiful arts, actually. I mean, every time I come in the building, I stop outside there. Every time I go to the bank, it really is pretty amazing, and that all is part of making the meeting beautiful, and they do a wonderful job, and I don't think we ever thank them enough. They're all
You're right,
volunteers.
and just so they know, that they've been complaining because the hose bib at Fountain Square has not functioned for quite a while and takes them an hour apparently to water all the pots around Fountain Square.
I saw Vicky with
2 hours?
5-gallon
I'm sorry,
buckets.
2 hours.
I saw Vicky the
I've
other
seen
day.
that too.
With the 5-gallon buckets
But
working.
in any event, the plumbers finally figured out what the problem is with it's an old and kind of cranky device with a pump handle, but the plumber has finally figured out how to fix it, and I hope that will happen within the next few days.
Also, there's the flowers around all the signs, you know, the War Memorial down in Wassaic, they're all over the place. They do a wonderful job. I also like to shout out to Mary Ann Pitts, who's removed all the invasive plants in those areas. She did a beautiful job on that. The other thing I just want to mention is I talked to DOT again today and got a totally different answer from every other time that I spoke to somebody. It was a totally different person. And apparently, at this point, she said they don't even know if a study is going to be done because it has to meet certain criteria. I asked her what the criteria was. She says, well, they're not complete, so it's not open for the public. So then I asked, how that worked, and she said it might be up to the municipality to do it through permit, so.
Are we talking about Maplebrook?
We're talking about Maplebrook. So this is like the worst answer I've gotten, every time that I've called. When you come back from vacation, I do have the name of her boss.
Okay.
So Leo, it might be good if you have a little man-to-man with him, because I think this is kind of silly that that this is dragging on so far. I also have reached out, I actually reached out to Marilee Najak in Millerton, and will also call the town clerk's office to find out how they got theirs, the ones up there in town, and see if it was a municipality, was a village, or whether it was DOT or who it was and how that all worked.
Great.
So I have that. I reached out to them.
Thank you for continuing to work on that.
So I think that is all.
Okay. I have 2 comments as well. I wanted to thank Charlie for, first of all, finding 8 bidders, archaeologist bidders, to get the price, since they range from $5,000 to $29,000, and we were able to choose the low one. And also for your 2 lovely slide decks and the research and presentation you gave on the towns and on the signs in front of Town Hall. Thank you for that. Oh, and the website, I'm sorry, and the website. And then I also wanted to thank the New York State Police and the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office for responding to the situation in Wassaic. I think they were frustrated too by the limits in terms of what they could do, but we definitely appreciate their being here and being there, and helping out. Thank you. Anyone else? Oh my God, then I am going to propose that we adjourn.
I second. Oh.
I was getting a little worried.
We kind of all got kind of glazed.
Supervisor Blackman.
Yes.
Council members Ahern.
Yes.
Revelard.
Yes.
Kale.
Yes.
Yay.
Thank you all.